All right, new season, time for a settings video. Hey guys, what's good? How we doing? Welcome back to the channel. All right, so season 5 did drop for Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2. So in today's video, we are going to go over the best possible settings you can have. These will be the best settings for gameplay, and also for those of you on PC, I'm going to go over the best settings for FPS. Just maximize your system's performance. All right, guys, so before we get to today's video, if you want to show me some support, be sure to hit that like button. If you have not done so yet, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Friendly reminder, I do stream over on Twitch, so if you ever want to catch me live, definitely go over there, hit the follow button. The link should be down in the description below. All right, guys, so with all that out of the way, let's get to it. Okay, so we are going to start on the graphics side of things. So for those of you on console, this might not be as important. You can just skip to the gameplay section. But for those of you on PC, we're going to go over all the graphics settings that I have, and then some other ones that I would suggest having depending on your PC build, how much money you got in there. All right, so if we're starting on the display tab, for my display mode, I have it on full screen borderless solely because sometimes when I'm streaming, it's annoying to have it in full screen. But if you want to maximize your performance for the game, I would highly suggest putting it on full screen exclusive. Now going down here, a lot of these you don't really need to touch. Definitely for VSync, keep VSync off, and then for custom frame rate limit, I have it on unlimited just to maximize as many possible frames I have. So I would definitely suggest keeping that on unlimited. Everything else down below after the custom frame rate limit, you don't really need to touch. All of this is basically good on whatever it's standardized on. All right, so next we're moving on to the quality tab. So for the first thing you want to touch is render resolution. I keep this at 100. I would suggest keeping it at 100. If you have a low-end PC and you're struggling to get frames, you can turn this down maybe to like 90. Just keep in mind that will make the screen look a lot more grainy. It will make it harder to see. So if your frames are somewhat fine, I would highly suggest keeping this at 100. But if you want more frames, you can always turn it down. In terms of upscaling sharpening, I would highly suggest keeping this on Fidelity FX CAS. In terms of show more, I have this on 75. I don't even know if I touched that. But now let's move down to the next one, anti-aliasing. I keep this on SMAA T2X. I definitely would suggest that. Keep it on the lower one. It helps your frames a lot. Anti-aliasing quality, I have this on high solely because I have a pretty high-end PC. So I can get good frames with it on high, but if you have a medium to low end, I would suggest low or normal. Just keep in mind it will make your game look worse. And then video memory scale, I've always kept this at 50. This doesn't really impact the game that much from my experience. But if your game is stuttering, like if you're stuttering when you're in a game of Warzone or whatever, just turn it down. That will definitely help your stuttering. Now moving on to details and textures, this is where my settings might differ from yours. So in terms, if you have a high-end PC, I would copy my settings exactly. I don't have everything maxed out, but I like to keep stuff somewhat high. I learned this from Joe Woe. Like, he has a high-end PC, obviously, because he's a really big content creator streamer. He prefers to keep all of his graphics settings on high solely because it helps you see enemies better. You can see enemies better at longer distances. So if you're happy with your frame rate, I would copy the settings I have on right here. So just of all the details and textures, keep it high. Clutter draw distance, you can have that on short. Particle quality high, particle quality level low. Bullets and impacts, that doesn't really matter. I like keeping it on. And then getting all the way down here, streaming quality, keep that on low. Tessellation off, volumetric quality low. All this stuff can be off, and then water quality can be default. Now, if you have a low-end PC or like a medium tier PC where you want to get higher frames and they're kind of too low right now where you like them, you can turn all of this. I would just, anything that's on high, turn it to normal or low. So texture resolution, you can turn that to low. Turn this to normal or low. Just do that for all of this stuff if you want better frames, but always keep in mind, it's, in my opinion, it's better if you can see someone easier than if you have like 10 more frames. So just keep whatever is your preference. I just prefer to be able to see people better. Now, shadow and lighting, this is always, even if you have a high-end PC, you should keep anything shadow related or lighting related low or completely off, because shadows impact your frames a good amount and you don't really need them. So shadow map resolution, keep that on very low. Screen space shadows off. Spot quality shadow low. Spot cache, have that on ultra though, because it does help you render frames faster and better, except it does have a high effect on VRAM, so make sure you have enough RAM to have that on ultra. And then particle lighting, have that on low. Ambient inclusion off. Screen space reflections off. Keep this low and this off. So basically anything in this category you want to have low or off. Now down to post-processing effects, I have all of this off and film grain at 0. All right, so moving over to field of view. This is all up to your preference. A lot of people have it on 120. I like playing on 120. So I would just mess around with your field of view, pick whatever feels best for you. If 120 feels too big, just slowly turn it down. I know some people play on 110. ADS field of view, I have this on affected. I would definitely suggest doing that. For me, I think you feel the aim assist more if you have it on affected, especially if you have a higher field of view. And then the last thing in here that you would want to mess around with is the camera movement. First person camera movement, have that on as low as possible least. That'll make your screen shake less when you're running around and stuff, and it'll make it easier to hit shots. All right, guys, so moving on, we're going to move over to the best controller settings. I used to play this game on mouse and keyboard, but I don't really anymore, so I'm not really that knowledgeable to give you input on the best mouse and keyboard settings. I would go check out someone like Strafe. I'll link his channel in the description because he's probably one of the best mouse and keyboard players I've ever seen. But in terms of controller settings, we're going to start on the first controller tab. A lot of this stuff can stay on default unless you like a different stick layout preset. I play on default. The biggest thing you want to mess with is stick sensitivity. I like to play on 9.9. I know Joe Woe plays on 9.9. A few other people, I think Swag plays on 9. Maybe he plays on 8.8. But either the most popular ones are usually 9.9 or having it at 6.6. 6.6 is like the standard sensitivity a lot of people play on. But if you're a more seasoned player and you like to do a lot of movement stuff, you can try turning that up a little bit. Just keep in mind, like if I were on 6.6, I would have my ADS sensitivity multiplier at 1, but since I play on a faster sense at 9.9, I like to turn the ADS multiplier down a little bit. I have it at 0.8. All right, so moving down to the gameplay section, this is going to be a little more important. The first thing I would definitely have you change is automatic sprint. If you don't play with automatic tactical sprint on, you definitely should try it out. A couple of my friends don't like it, but almost every single pro or every single streamer plays with auto tac sprint on. It just lets you move around easier. You can move around faster. Equipment behavior, I would definitely have this on hold. And then the other one that's important is interact reload behavior. Prioritize interact. That's what almost everybody uses. Definitely have this on this one. And then armor plate behavior, have this on to apply all. So you only have to press the armor thing once and then it will put all of your plates on instead of just one. Okay, guys, so moving on over to the advanced tab. This is the aim assist section. This is the most important section for controller players. So for aim assist type, I play on standard. Almost everybody plays on default. So I would suggest having this on default. And then going down to the aim response curve type, you can either have this on standard or dynamic. If you're more of a beginner player, start on standard. And then once you feel pretty good on that, try and move it to dynamic. Dynamic just helps you hit shot to shot. Like if you're shooting one person, then you want to swap to another person while you're still firing. Dynamic helps you do that a little bit easier. So if you're a more seasoned controller player, you feel more confident, try putting it on dynamic because that's like what most people end up using. For ADS sensitivity transition timing, I like instant, and I think almost every other person I've looked at uses instant. So that's what I would suggest putting it on. And now for input dead zone, this is also very important. This will also vary depending how much stick drift you have. So most people try and just go as low as possible. I have mine on 0.05. I could honestly put it a little lower, but you will notice that if you do have stick drift, the lower this is, you will start to see your stick drift move your player on the screen, even if you're not touching your analog stick. So what I would suggest, try and get it as low as possible, hop into a lobby, and then just see how low you can get it without there being noticeable stick drift, and then stick with that number. For the max, I've always had this at 0.99. This does not matter nearly as much as the min. So just try and get the min as low as possible. All right, so moving on to movement behaviors. A lot of this doesn't really matter, especially if you have automatic tactical sprint on. So anything that I would suggest changing, make sure you have invert slide and dive behavior on standard. Plunging underwater, have this on movement, and then make sure you have sprinting door bash on. Apart from those, nothing else really you need to change in the advanced tab. You can look around yourself and see if there's any other things you want to change, but in terms of like what the mainstream settings most people use, that everything I've already gone over is what the mainstream settings are. All right, guys, so that concludes this settings video. If there are any important settings that I missed or anything that should be different, that should be different in your opinion, definitely let me know down below in the comments for me and everyone else to check out. As always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Remember, stay blessed, not stressed out there. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.